Today I'm going to show you guys how I qualified to the Clash Royale League monthly finals. So my first opponent was Inthrill, and I decided to run Electro Giant against him, kind of just anticipating that he would go for some type of no-skill deck against me to counter a lot of my cycle decks. I was also thinking he could run Graveyard, so that's why we put the Mother Witch in here. And he actually ended up deciding to go for a Golem deck, which I didn't really expect, but E-Giant's not the worst against. And guys, at this point I was in the top 32, and the top 32 players got split into 4 groups of 8 players, and only the top 3 players in each group would move on to the 12-player monthly finals. I actually got a really nice push going right here, man. The Mother Witch just kept on spawning pig after pig, and I even got another pig here, then I got a nice Golden Knight ability as well. I don't know why Inthrill didn't Vines here. He could have saved like half his tower more if he just played the Vines, but I guess if you play Golem, it does stuff to your head sometimes. No offense, of course. I did cycle the cannon here right as he went for the Golem, which was kind of bad timing for me, but I just kind of felt like saving my other cards besides the cannon. By the way, guys, I'm a little bit sick, so I might have to blow my nose a lot in today's video. But yeah, I got my Evo Baby Dragon down. The Evo Baby Dragon does slow down the enemy troops, so I knew I could probably defend even without the cannon. I got a pretty good lightning. It didn't hit the mini Pekka, but it still did what it needed to do. And then I think I just got a nice tornado and also got my Golden Knight ability going. I honestly think this matchup is actually in his favor, because if you think about it, if he plays in single elixir more, I feel like all he has to do is just go for an aggressive Golem, defend the E-Giant with mini Pekka, then he just like, you know, plays the Evo Baby Dragon to speed up his Golem, and my cannon just won't be enough to stop that. I think if I had Goblin Cage, this would have been a good matchup for me, but I feel like the reason why I was doing so well here was because he was mostly waiting until double elixir, and I think single elixir is actually more advantageous for Golem here compared to double elixir, which is kind of rare because usually Golem is better in double elixir. But yeah, at this point I was able to just keep on getting the bridge E-Giants, and I also had my Evo Baby Dragon here, which I knew would speed up the E-Giant and just bring it straight to the tower. And by the way, guys, I was playing best of 3 duels here. You would face everyone in your group in a best of 3 duel. So for game number 2 up against Inthrill, guys, I was up 1-0, so I knew if I won this game I would win the duel. And I decided to go for this Graveyard Vines deck. I hadn't really played this deck too much in the top 1000 tournament to get into the top 32, but I knew that it was really broken, so I just decided that I want to give it a try. He went for that card in the back. My cycle was really awkward here. I feel like in this type of matchup you have a lot of the responses you need, but your cycle just gets really awkward with the Vines, so it can be a little bit challenging sometimes. Now the major issue for me here, guys, was that I ended up using the Barbarian Barrel in the Electro Giant deck, and normally this deck much prefers to have a Bar Barrel over this Snowball, but I had to put Snowball because obviously the Bar Barrel was just out for me, which is a lot worse in this matchup compared to the Bar Barrel. If I had Bar Barrel, I could kill the gang easily, I could get on the mortars easily, but Snowball really just doesn't do as much. Now, he did get a little bit of damage here with his mortar shot, but I knew that I had to eat some damage in this matchup because single elixir would just be kind of difficult. Guys, here you kind of just want to buy your time until double elixir in this type of matchup, because if you survive single, you're going to be in a fine spot usually, but sometimes in single elixir it can just get really awkward for you. You can just get into really bad cycles and stuff. I got some nice Vines down, just killing his goblins and getting a bit of tower damage. Kind of just wanted to save my knight if possible and just get my spells out of my hand, you know? So I got my knight in the back right here. He went for a mortar, but I knew the Goblin Hut would soak up one shot, and then the knight would walk up to tank for the mortar, so I actually got a pretty good interaction here. I was kind of holding off on my witch for a second because I knew he would cannon cart, but I didn't want him to get the cart directly on the witch, so that's why I sort of held off onto it. And I believe I just went for a Snowball against the Skeleton Barrel. Normally it can be very hard to get graveyard damage in this type of matchup, but I was thinking that the Vines could definitely do me a solid, so I knew I'd have a chance. I got a really good poison. I knew he might go for the ability, and the poison actually caught the majority of it. Also, dude, my nose is so runny right now, man. This is kind of annoying, but yeah, actually me and my coach were sick during CRL, guys. Look, I got the really nice Vines right here. It's like a freeze that is just a lot less risky, I guess. And I got really good damage because of that set of Vines, which was great for me. Just got another Witch down right here. The Witch is really popular in the meta right now, guys, because it's a very good Vines counter. Now, here's where things got really bad for me. He got his Evo Mortar down, and the Evo Mortar is so much more scary compared to a normal Mortar. The only issue for him is that I feel like he really didn't get a good push off with it. And guys, I got my Goblin Hut directly up there on the Mortar. The reason why I placed it like that was so that the Spear Goblins would get triggered to spawning, because if you just go for the hut low, the Spear Goblins are not going to spawn against the Mortar. And I knew that my Evo Witch would be very hard for him to kill because he had no big spell. But another big issue for me here, guys, is that normally these mortar decks usually run the Cannoneer Tower, but he actually had Princess Tower here, which was smart for him to just give him a much better chance of beating Graveyard. And you guys can see I was getting a Graveyard or two off here in this match, but I was just really chill overall. I wasn't trying to be over-aggressive or anything. I was just going for it only when I had the perfect opportunity. I wasn't too worried about getting too much damage early on. Got a nice witch to the side, and then here the Goblin Gang got a little bit awkward for me. I had to snowball it. Luckily, though, the cart just barely died, and I feel like my defense was just really good. The most important thing here, guys, is that I was not overextending, you know? A lot of people tried to over-defend, but I feel like what saved me through single elixir in this match was definitely just being willing to take a few hits from stuff just in order to get my cycle right. I don't know why Inthrill decided to go for a defensive mortar here. I feel like that was really bad, so I just went in for a graveyard, and then I got my poison down as well. I believe I snowballed too. The snowball does kind of suck here, but I guess the one scenario where it does help out is against, you know, like the Goblin Gang or the Spear Goblins. And my Goblin Hut was actually doing a really good job, man. I honestly feel like the Goblin Hut could even get a small nerf to the Spear Goblin spawn speed. I believe I got another hut soon. Yeah, I got my hut down right here. And he kind of messed up his skeleton barrels. He kept on going for them in the position that allowed them to get pulled by the Goblin Hut. I did have to get my vines down here, though, which unfortunately I couldn't hit the Skeleton King with. So he actually did get on my tower a little bit. And then, dude, bro! See, if I had a bar barrel, guys, I would have done so much better, dude. But then the dumb Goblin Gang just pushed that cart like a million miles per hour. And I honestly don't know what I was supposed to do. I think I should have just reacted quicker, but you guys don't even know like how quick that just moved to my tower. So honestly, I don't even know, man, how to feel about this one. I feel like I definitely could have won this matchup, but it just, I think, a matchup that gets way easier with Barbarian Barrels, so unfortunately, guys, I did end up losing. Now, guys, moving on to game number 3 up against Inthrill, we had actually kind of the opposite matchup. We had, this time, me playing Mortar, and this time Inthrill having a Graveyard deck, but his Graveyard deck was a little bit different than mine, and also my Mortar deck was a little bit different than his was. Now, I did have the Dark Goblin up in here, which is obviously really good against Graveyard, but the major issue for me that I want to point out here is that I had the Cannoneer Tower, which is probably like 10 times worse against Graveyard compared to a Princess Tower like he had in the match against me. Now, he did also have the Furnace up in here, and he actually had no Vines in his deck either, which did make it a little bit different. I actually got my Dark Goblin right on the tower. He kind of misplaced his Furnace right there, so that was actually a pretty good start for me, and that Skeleton Barrel also got quite a bit of value. Now, here I feel like I could have gone for the Ice Wizard just a little bit lower, obviously, so that was kind of on me, but I just got a Skelly King down, then my Mortar, and I was still in a fine spot. The Goldenstein was kind of interesting for him here, because sometimes it did make him play it kind of awkwardly, like to defend my Mortar here, but at the same time, the ability could get pretty good value sometimes. Like, yeah, he got a really good ability here. And, yeah, stuff was going pretty calm for me here. I knew I needed to get a lot of damage in single elixir, though, because in this matchup, guys, when they get to the Evolved Furnace, stuff can feel pretty much impossible. Like, you just can't do anything for so many minutes until the Evolved Furnace dies. You have to either cycle 2 sets of arrows on it or just wait until it crosses the bridge, basically. But yeah, I was just cycling to my Evo Mortar this whole time, and I did finally get my Evo Mortar in cycle, so I decided to go for that Guards here. Then I played my Evo Mortar as well. Just knowing his cycle was really awkward, and you guys can see here, he really didn't have a whole lot to distract. I feel like the Dark Goblin was definitely doing a great job for me. And I believe Mortar did lock on the tower. Yeah, Mortar got right on the tower here, guys. And I did also have my Evo Skelly Barrel, which I wanted to play because his cycle was bad. But unfortunately, I just had to wait for that Doctor to kind of walk up. Now, guys, a very important thing that I knew about this matchup was that since I had no big spell, if I kept on playing in the same lane as him, he would just overwhelm me. He would just stack Furnaces that I couldn't kill, and he would also kind of poison me out and stuff like that, get some good graveyards. But I knew that if I pushed both lanes, that way I could just keep the pressure up on both sides and have a much better chance to win. Now, I did cycle to my second set of arrows right here, so I was able to take out the Evo Furnace. That's usually what you have to do against it. Dude, I hate having a runny nose, man. Oh my gosh. Alright. And yeah, you guys could see that I really wasn't playing my Spirit Empress at all in single elixir, but only starting kind of in double elixir was I actually starting to finally play it. I feel like it's a pretty good card in this type of matchup. I mean, it's not really the best or anything, but like it's helpful, you know, to get it down the middle sometimes and just block up a lane. It doesn't even die to obviously poison or anything like that. The main issue, though, is that it's super expensive, so if you play it a lot in single elixir, you can't really play much else with it. Like, if I cycled a lot of Empresses in single elixir, then I couldn't really get as many mortars or as many skelly barrels to get all the damage that I needed, so that's why I only started cycling it kind of later in the game. It's really good to get these Empresses going kind of in the middle, because people always try to usually distract the mortars with units in the middle. So you could see my Empress was kind of just like farming this guy. And even though the Cannoneer kind of sucked against the graveyard itself, it actually was pretty nice to stop the Fire Spirit flow from the Furnace. I can't even explain how nice that is to not have to worry about those Fire Spirits like you do with the Princess Tower. He did get another Evo Furnace here, unfortunately, so I decided to, I believe, go for the arrows, if I'm not mistaken. Wait, did I not arrows here? Okay, I guess I didn't arrows, actually. Never mind. It was kind of high up, so I guess I just thought that the Empress would be a better choice, and honestly, I guess it was. I didn't want to play my Skelly Barrel here because I knew it would just go for the Goblin Hut. It does go for spawner buildings in that position, no matter where you place it. Mortar unfortunately did not get a lock on the tower. I really wasn't getting the damage that I needed here. I kept on trying to like spam the mortars and the Skelly Barrels, guys, but it felt like everything was getting defended really easily, so the only thing putting me in a good spot was the damage that I had gotten early on in the game. Now, the really important thing here, guys, is to go for Dark Goblins like I just did here, kind of behind the King Tower, because that makes it so it's very hard for them to go for their spells onto. But, dude, I was actually down in damage here, which is terrible, because I feel like this matchup in single elixir and maybe even early in double elixir isn't too bad or anything, but then when you get to triple elixir, that benefits graveyards so much. The nice thing for me, though, is that my Skelly Barrel somehow splashed the tower. You know, I didn't even realize that while I was actually playing this game, that my Skelly Barrel splashed the tower, but now that I look at it, I think that might have just given me a great chance to win this game by getting that little bit of splash damage right there. My Empress was just not dying. It kept on killing the Goblin-Stein. He had to spend the Berserker on my, you know, Skelly Barrel and stuff, and dude, it was literally just that Skelly Barrel that won me the game. In my next duel, I was up against Evolve, who is a player that hasn't really gotten super far in CRL a lot of times, but I feel like he practices a lot, and he's definitely quite a capable player. I decided to play this Goblin Giant Cannon Cart deck against him that I saw quite a few other players using. There wasn't, like, too much logic behind it, just trying to overall cover the basic threats that he might go for. He just had a lot of Cycle decks open, and I knew that, yeah, he often goes for Cycle decks and stuff game one, and I thought that this deck could deal with most of them, so that's why I decided to go for it. When I saw the HUD and everything, I was thinking at first that it could be a graveyard deck, but as you'll see here, guys, he does actually have Goblin Drill. I got a really good Machine Rocket on the tower, though. And yeah, when I saw the Skelly King, I was thinking that, okay, actually this could be Goblin Drill, because I do remember that I was actually playing a similar deck to him, I believe, yesterday. And guys, I purposely cycled my Witch here. I could have gone for a cart kind of early against his Witch, but I cycled my Witch too because I knew that the Evolved Witch would be really helpful for me. It's kind of helpful for both of us in this matchup, but yeah, I definitely wanted to get mine too. Now, this deck isn't really the exact same like Pekka Goblin Giant. You don't really have the ability to just first play your opponent in the same way, but you know, sometimes you can go for Goblin Giant first play, just usually I don't. I got some really good pressure here, guys, with that Goblin Machine. It did put me down a little bit of Elixir, but I was already down Elixir from the start, so I think that was actually pretty smart. Guys, even though I had been down a few Elixir, Evolve just decided to leak his Elixir, so it actually just put us even, which was kind of nice for me. And I still had yet to play my Goblin Giant this game, even though it was already about to be double Elixir, which is very rare for a Goblin Giant player. I guess I just have a bit of a different play style. I got a nice Berserker here just to make him play something, and it actually made him go for a whole Goblin Hut. We did both get our Vines down here, just trying to both allow ourselves to win the interaction. My Cannon Cart was able to pretty nicely take down his Evo Witch, and I knew this opportunity could be pretty good for me. I got a nice Rage as well. And unfortunately, the Machine kind of choked, though, by rocketing the Goblin Hut instead of his Witch and stuff, but it was still okay. My Evo Witch was actually putting in the work quite a bit as well. Dude, my Evo Witch somehow kept on staying alive. Then I just went for a Goblin Giant here because I was just kind of gaining momentum, so this is where I finally had a good chance to go in. When I'm playing a Goblin Giant deck like this, I like to go in when I have momentum. And here I got some really good Vines value on all three of his, you know, main units here. And that just allowed everything to just die. My Berserker got on his Evo Witch, he got an Evo Snowball, but dude, that Evo Snowball didn't push my stuff back at all, really. And my cart was still blocking up the map. He wasted the Vines, he had no Elixir, no Snowball for my minions here. And I was just able to probably really tilt him by winning against him with this deck. Now, for my second game up against Evolve, I decided to go for this kind of just weird Monk Wizard Hog Rider deck. I did also have the Goblin Cage up in here, and he decided to go for Miner Tesla, which unfortunately I already knew would be a really difficult matchup for me, so I was not feeling too good. The thing that I was actually going for here with this deck, guys, was sort of like, you know, one of those weird Goblin Giant decks or something like that. That's what I was hoping he would play here in game number 2, because I even had the Goblin Cage and the guards and everything, so if he went for that, I knew it would be a pretty good matchup for me. I actually thought he had Minor Rocket at this point, but then he revealed the Poison, and the Poison actually probably makes this matchup even worse, because it just makes it easier for him to take down my Wizards, even if I play them a little bit up high. And the Tesla's just so annoying for me compared to a cannon, because I can't even really Earthquake it. Now, guys, I knew that if I could win and qualify to the monthly final for the 3rd time this year, there's actually 4 months of CRL, so if I could qualify to the monthly final, that would mean that I would be in the monthly final 3 out of 4 times this year, and that would put me as the, I guess, most qualifications for monthly finals this year, alongside Muhammad Light and Lucas X Gamer. So yeah, I knew that if I could do it, I would be up there. I got a decent Goblin Cage on his Dark Prince and stuff. I guess the Goblin Cage can be kind of decent in this matchup still. It's interesting, I guess, because you can't really play it up high like you could a Tesla or a Cannon to kind of try to counter their Tesla. Because sometimes when I'm facing a Tesla deck, I go for my own Tesla up high, just so they can't go for theirs up high. But I mean, the Goblin Cage is at least helpful against the Dark Prince. If I had no Goblin Cage, his Dark Princes would probably be a lot more annoying, because I'd have to just waste the Monk on them instead of using the Monk where I'd want to actually play it. Got a nice high Evo Cage right here. Then I believe I just went for a Monk. Yeah, I got a nice Monk on the Monitor. The main thing I was kind of focusing on here was always keeping my cards in cycle for his Monitor. Like, I always wanted to have a Monk or Ice Spirit plus guards for his Monitor. And I was actually doing a pretty good job of avoiding taking much damage here. Now, I did get a very nice Earthquake, but it didn't really matter because his delivery kind of just soloed everything. So yeah, it was just getting really difficult. I feel like if he had Rocket, though, it might have made his cycle a little bit more awkward, and maybe it would have been harder for him to stop the Wizard and stuff. But guys, the most important thing that I was doing here is that I was cycling my cards in a very specific order. Like, for example, he just went for a Miner on my tower, right? So I could have just gone for the guards first to then play the Hog after, but I purposely played the Hog first and then the guards after. That way I could have as best of a chance as possible to outcycle his Tesla. The issue, though, is that I had guards in this deck, and guards do slow down your cycle. He had a much quicker cycle with his skeletons and stuff. But the guards were decent to catch the Miner, though, so at least I had that. But he was able to be so aggressive with the poisons, and I really could never punish him for it. But I did get a really nice Wizard. Didn't really end up mattering much, though. Yeah, then, you know, I was kind of slowly chipping him out, but yeah, the Miners were just doing not really that much damage, actually. It was more so the poison, I guess, that was actually chipping me out. Now, I got the Hog Rider down, got a pre-Earthquake, but I could have actually positioned it a little differently, and I think I would have maybe forced out a few more Elixir. But, my only hope here, guys, was to keep on going opposite lane and just try to maybe get some really good Wizard or something like that. I do love to go opposite lane in this matchup, because if you go in the same lane, it's basically like a 100-0 matchup. Even if you go opposite lane, though, it still feels kind of impossible sometimes. I just went for the Hog here, then tried to get a Monk ability, because sometimes with the Monk ability, you can make the Hog Rider bypass a Tesla, but you just have to get kind of lucky with that, honestly. I got my guards down here, just trying to outcycle his Tesla, which I kind of was able to do, but the Evo Ice Spirit kind of saved him. I actually got a very nice Hog Rider. I thought it would get kind of messed up by the Evo Ice Spirit, but I ended up avoiding it. And here I thought maybe I could have a chance, because I was outcycling him little by little. I did catch his Miner, then I went for a Hog Rider, got a really nice Ice Spirit on his Ice Spirit. And unfortunately, my Hog got no damage because his Dark Prince charged. Yeah, man, I don't know. Maybe a Firecracker would have helped me out more in this matchup than a Wizard, to be honest. But some of his Goblin Giant decks had arrows in them, so that's why I decided to play the Wizard. Yeah, dude, this is like the only reason I don't really like Hog in this kind of meta, because you can outplay a lot of different things, but these minor poison decks, when you're facing like Muhammad Light or really any quite solid player, it feels almost impossible. Like, I played perfect this match pretty much. I don't know if I would have changed almost a single thing I did, but I ended up losing regardless. So now, guys, it was game number 3 up against Evolve, and this was for all of the marbles. My coach decided to give me this Mortar deck, and honestly, I was a little bit scared to actually run this deck, because at this point, I had already played Mortar in my game number 3s quite a few times in duels mode, as of recently at the time of this duel. So I thought that my opponent might be able to snipe me, and unfortunately, my opponent did end up having Earthquake, so I already felt pretty bad just seeing that. I knew that he probably did have some sort of Mortar snipe. I didn't know what he was actually running at this point, though, so I was just kind of trying to figure that out. I got a really good Goblin Gang, actually, and he just ate all of it, surprisingly. I thought I was gonna maybe win the game just off of that, but then he actually revealed that he had a prince as well, and my cycle was kind of bad because since I played the Goblin Gang, I didn't really have a distraction for his prince. And also, guys, the Empress is really good in this type of matchup, but as you can see here, the Empress just costs so much elixir that it made me just not have the elixir to stop that Mega Knight or the prince. That's the issue with Empress. Because, like, it did a really good job there, don't get me wrong, but it just meant that I had no elixir to distract his stuff, even though it was doing good DPS on his things. I believe I did go for a mortar as well. Yeah, I got a good mortar just knowing he was really low on elixir. He ended up going for an earthquake onto it, but mortar still does get 3 hits on the tower, even if they earthquake onto it. But this was a pretty bad situation for me, guys, because to be in a 2-tower game, I knew it'd probably be pretty bad against a Mega Knight deck, so I did not want that. I ended up going for an aggressive Dart Goblin at the bridge here, just trying to catch him off guard. He did get the prediction arrows on my gang, unfortunately, and, you know, he hadn't really gone for any arrows before, basically, so I didn't know that he would try to predict me like that, and yeah, sometimes stuff like that just happens, you know. It's all just mind games, really, with those predictions. I got a really good Evo Mortar down on this left side here, knowing that he would probably overcommit on my Evo Skelly Barrel. And guys, that was actually such a smart mortar by me, man. Because I really needed to get this extra bit of damage that I could before he started to spam Mega Knights in the back same lane. He actually let my Dart Goblin go. That was a really good Dart Goblin, too. And I kept up the pressure with my gang as well. So I knew the main card that I had to take advantage of here, guys, was definitely going to be the Spirit Empress. And I think the worst card for me in this matchup to have to deal with was probably the Evolved Baby Dragon, because the Evolved Baby Dragon just makes their push go so quick. Like, bro, look how quick this Prince was going! I had my gang to distract the Prince, but I literally just couldn't play it in time, because his dummy Baby Dragon was making everything go so fast. Luckily, though, the Spirit Empress was putting in the work against his Baby Dragon, so I was able to deal with things pretty nicely. But it was getting kind of hard to make pushes here, because, you know, he just kept on stacking the lane up. However, if I just defended well, I knew that I could still win this game since I was already up so much damage. So yeah, my game plan was just to keep on stacking as many Empresses as possible. I probably could have just popped the Skelly King ability here, but I decided to go for the gang, which I guess was fine too. Then I finally got a nice mortar off, and his cycle was just getting really awkward. He had to go for a Bridge Mega Knight, but my Empress kept on staying alive and just putting in the work here. I went for another Empress, but my elixir was getting kind of low, so I was a little bit worried here. Just barely got my Ice Whiz down though, and yeah, my Empress was just killing literally everything. I thought the Empress after the nerf might not really be good in Mortar anymore, but as you guys can see, it still kept on putting in the work. I got a really nice Evo Skelly Barrel here, which was actually able to distract his Prince and just allow my Empress to make pretty quick work of it. And dude, the Empress was just not dying. It even killed his Evolved Baby Dragon as well, which is kind of insane. And then here I just upped so much elixir, he wasted the arrows, so I believe I did go in. Yeah, I went in for the Mortar here, and I don't know what else I did. Oh, I went for the Skelly Barrel as well. He had Baby Dragon, but I knew the Skelly Barrel would be able to probably get a nice tower connection. And it does like 150 damage just by connecting. Then I got really quick arrows, which did allow my mortar to get, I believe, one shot on his tower. Went for the Ice Wizard in the back here, and I think I did Evo Mortar. Yeah, I Evo Mortared, guys, because I knew that the mortar would splash the tower and the Mega Knight unless he blocked it. And my Skelly Barrel here, once again, was great because it got the tower damage and even more skeleton damage, but then it also kind of just bought my troops time to take down his Mega Knight. I had really smart Skelly Barrels throughout this game. But dude, then his Evo Baby Dragon was going absolutely insane, and my Skelly King died. I had to go in for the Ground Empress here, which just got wrecked right away by the Goblin Gang. Got my mortar down, but stuff was kind of falling apart for me right here. Yeah, he got a Prince down as well, but this time I was able to get back to my Skelly King, which kind of just ended up getting shredded here. I went for my Ground Empress, then I got my arrows down, but I didn't have the elixir for a mortar, so I had to just get an Ice Wizard down, but I was just up so much damage at this point that I was able to take the duel win. In this game, I was up against a Cofish, and guys, I actually made kind of a big mistake. This guy is known for being a bait player, and my coach told me to play Barbarian Barrel in this deck, but I actually had Snowball instead because he told me, like, at the very last second, and I didn't see it in time. He ended up going for the guards here. I just got my Ice Wizard down the middle. I had no idea that he would have a Lava Hound deck, to be honest. He really does not normally play this type of deck. I believe I just got my Vines down on his Bomber, yeah. And when I saw Guards plus Bomber, I wasn't really sure what it would be, but then with the Cage, I knew that he would probably have a Lava Hound deck. Now, Lava Hound, I believe, actually does have a slight advantage against Graveyard usually, but it really depends on the variation that they have. I didn't really know it at this time exactly what version he would have, but he ended up having Flying Machine and Inferno Dragon. I feel like Inferno Dragon is so bad in this matchup for him, though, compared to like a Baby Dragon or an Empress, so I knew that I could definitely win this one if I could play perfect. Now, I didn't really try to pressure at all here, guys. There's no point to go for an aggressive graveyard and single elixir most of the time in this matchup, because if you do, all they have to do is just go for guards, and you can't really deal with it, unless you way overcommit, and then you just get wrecked usually. I did end up going for an Ice Wizard. I did know he had lightning in the deck, but I couldn't really space out my stuff properly. I did end up getting a nice Witch down, though, and then without his lightning, he really couldn't take it down, so that put me in a pretty good spot. I believe I got a Knight down as well. Yeah, had to go for my Knight because of his Vines. I feel like the Vines weren't really that good for him in this matchup, though. They didn't really serve any major purpose. They just, I guess, chipped away my Witch a little bit and stuff, but they don't really particularly kill anything or do that good against Graveyard. Okay, now here I did actually go in for the Graveyard. I tried to get a prediction Snowball on guards, but he didn't end up going for it. I got some really good Vines down, though, because my Witch was kind of healthy. Then I actually got so much damage here. That was a really clutch Graveyard, and it also put me in a decent spot elixir-wise as well. Yeah, just knowing that I could kind of get away with that Graveyard is why I went for it, because I had that Witch down with just a little bit of HP. And I feel like the Vines does also allow you to go for a little bit more aggressive Graveyards. I went in once again for a Graveyard here because I knew his cycle was trash, and as you guys can see here, he had literally nothing good to play against it, aside from the Flying Machine. But I got really good Vines down on everything, and man, I just got so much damage once again. It was really Vines carrying me time and time again in this matchup so far. And also Vines can actually bring the Lava Hound down to the floor, which can be kind of nice for you sometimes too in this type of matchup. But yeah, I don't know, this matchup was just not looking good for him at all. I guess with the Vines, it made it a lot worse for him compared to if he had arrows and obviously the Inferno Dragon too, as I mentioned. Now here he did have the Evo Inferno Dragon though, which is actually pretty hard to sometimes deal with. I mean, the Witch can do a really good job, but if he goes for like a Lightning on that, then it could be hard for me to stop it. But I just got my Vines down in my Poison, and the Vines also reset the Inferno Dragon, which is really nice. So I was just able to deal with everything really, really easily. Yeah, man, that was looking so good for me. And also another nice thing for me is that since I put Snowball by accident in this deck, I was able to save Barbarian Barrel for my later games against this guy who is known to play bait. So that was also a good thing for me. I did go in for an aggressive Graveyard here, and I got a really nice prediction Snowball on his guards, plus my Vines as well. And man, I was just getting so much tower damage. Got a really good poison as well on a lot of his troops there. But here's where stuff started to really get bad for me. He got a second Lava Hound down, and I did have my Witch to go for, but I knew he would probably Lightning onto it, so I was just ready for that. And I was ready to get a nice quick Goblin Hut down. Got my Ice Wizard too, but his Lava Hound was getting a lot of damage. He got the Vines down, but they really didn't do much at all. And at this point, I knew that I could pretty much just Spell Cycle, so I went for that Poison. And I also had the Vines and the Snowball, so yeah, I knew I was going to do more than enough tower damage, and I took the first win against this guy. For the second game against Co, my coach decided to send me in with this Pekka Bridge Spam deck. Now, the reason why we picked this deck is because, well, first off, this deck had the Barbarian Barrel and the arrows, also Golden Knight and Mother Witch, so I knew that it could probably do pretty well against most bait decks in the game. And also, when you have Pekka, you cover beatdown decks quite a bit as well, like, you know, crazy Goblin Giant decks or Golem, stuff like that. I got a really nice Battle Ram here, man. The Golden Knight actually pushed the Battle Ram outside of the Tesla range, and that's actually exactly what I was hoping would happen when I went for the Ram with the Golden Knight there, so just forced out his extra Snowball, but I knew this matchup would be pretty difficult. It's just really hard to get through the Tesla spam, and I could obviously counter the drill well, but if this guy just defended perfect all game, I knew that I'd probably not have too much of a chance here. I got a Lumberjack down, just trying to get to my Evo Lumberjack and, you know, see if that could make something happen. I think one of the best things for me here in this matchup, though, guys, had to be the Evolved Battle Ram, because the Evo Battle Ram actually does have a pretty good chance to break through. You know, he has Snowball and E-Spirit and Evo Tesla to reset it, but it could still sometimes get really clutch things going. He actually went for a very late delivery here, but it was really hard to be able to punish him at all, because even though he had, like, no elixir, if I played my Golden Knight, he could just, you know, go for the Berserker onto it, and I'd get nothing out of it, really. So a single elixir really didn't go too great for me. Now, guys, something very unfortunate happened to me earlier. So basically, me and my coach decided to go for Hog Rider Earthquake game 1 against someone, but then we switched the log in the deck to Barbarian Barrel at the last second, and my coach, I guess, didn't account for that in his like software or something. So he ended up giving me Royal Giant with the Barbarian Barrel in the second game, and I didn't even double check that because I just automatically, you know, put the deck my coach gives me. So I ended up repeating Barbarian Barrel. So even though I beat some guy, I actually ended up losing because of repeating the Barbarian Barrel, which was very annoying for me. But I knew that if I could win this game against Ko, I'd have a pretty good chance to be able to qualify. I finally got my Evo Ram down here, but as you guys can see, it was really hard to get through. Despite him missing the snowball, I still had, you know, really no way to get through easily. I ended up going for a really quick Golden Knight ability, though, which did get me right on the tower. So you guys can see he made a couple small mistakes, but it was just hard to get too much damage. I was getting little bits of chip here and there, but nothing too major. Oh yeah, but I got my Pekka in the back here, and I was thinking that this time I could try to make a nice double lane push, because sometimes you could kind of just stack up the lane in this matchup, but since he had the delivery, I knew that if I go all same lane, it would be probably pretty difficult to actually get any big push going, because the delivery would just take down everything. I got a nice Mother Witch here going down the middle, and it actually turned his Berserker into a piggy as well. Honestly, that Evo Tesla by him was trash, and then he missed the delivery on the Mother Witch, guys. He missed the delivery on the Mother Witch. He had a terrible poison, missing the Mother Witch as well. Then my Evo Lumberjack and everything got right to his tower. And, yeah, I knew he was dead here. And, you know, I think he had a good matchup here, just that he messed up the Tesla, the poison, the delivery. So, guys, this was it. This was for everything. I was facing Hugo, who is actually quite a good French player, and, he ended up playing Mortar against me. I decided to play this E-Giant deck, and I already knew this matchup would be really difficult just seeing the Cannoneer Tower. That's automatically probably going to mean that you're going to get a pretty bad matchup if you have Electro Giant against Cannoneer Tower. Because the Cannoneer Tower just shoots so much slower than a Princess Tower, so you get hardly any Electro Giant reflection damage on the tower compared to if they have Princess Tower. Now, I mean, I guess the good thing for me here was that I did have Mother Witch and he had a bunch of bait cards, and also I got my King up really early against his Skelly Barrel, but you know, an annoying thing in this matchup for sure, I would say, is the Spirit Empress, actually, because the Spirit Empress, they can kind of just play down the middle, and you really have no way to deal with it. You have no Inferno Dragon or something. Baby Dragon, you know, doesn't really do the DPS you need to kill it. Lightning doesn't even kill it. I had to go for a defensive Electro Giant here, but guys, look what happened. The Spirit Empress was so fat for him that it actually pushed his Skelly Barrel into my Goblin Cage. That was really good for me. Now, I knew my E-Giant wouldn't really get any value on offense. I kind of just wanted to play it just to defend the Empress, not really to actually get a push off with. And I knew that double and triple elixir would be better for me compared to single, so I was actually fine with this start. Hugo actually messed up on the Goblin gang there. I got a really good Mother Witch right here. I feel like he kept on messing up his gangs, and, you know, I was just able to capitalize by getting free Mother Witches, basically. Now, here I was thinking maybe I could get a really good Tornado Golden Knight, so I just went for the Baby Dragon, and then I got ready to go for a nice Tornado as well, pulling everything in together. Unfortunately, the Golden Knight didn't reach the tower, though. If it had reached the tower there, that would have been potentially a game-winning push, but it unfortunately didn't, so I got a little bit of chip damage, but nothing too major. However, I did get one nice piggy, though, out of that Spirit Empress, and he once again went for kind of an overcommit on the Goblin gang, guys. I don't know why he decided to gang on that. I feel like there was really no point of doing that. I decided to go kind of aggressive with the Lightning here because defense in this match is not too easy, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just actually trying to get tower damage that gets really difficult. It's really just because of the Cannoneer Tower that this matchup is so difficult. I mean, obviously the Mortar itself is really good, though. See, guys, look here, the Empress I just could not kill. Like, I had to spend so much elixir to kill it. It killed my Cage, I had to Baby Dragon and Tornado, which still didn't even kill it, man. That's ridiculous. And then here I just wasted all that elixir trying to stop the Empress and stuff, and then I couldn't stop his Mortar, so he got a lock on my tower. But guys, if I could win this, I knew that I could qualify guaranteed. And I had no room for error, really, because I had obviously repeated the card that one game against another one of the players, so if I messed up again, I very well could just be out. I decided to go for a Lightning on everything this time to see if that could be a little bit better, but then I still had to Evo Baby Dragon, and then I had no elixir to block this Evo Mortar, so I knew that would get a big lock. I decided to go for a Mother Witch to try to prevent too much damage. I thought I lost the game for sure at this point, but I wasn't completely out of it yet. You know, I was still actually up a few damage. It's just that it's a lot harder for me to make pushes than it is for him here. I think I went for an E-Giant. Yeah, I went for an E-Giant, but I got so unlucky because the Golden Knight got targeted, man. Unfortunately, my E-Giant didn't soak up the Spirit Empress attacks until kind of later here. And yeah, the E-Giant really wasn't even doing that much against the Empress either, so it was not looking good. I was down elixir here. My cycle was trash. I had to go for a Mother Witch on defense, which I didn't want to do. I did get a nice Barbarrel down, though. And honestly, the Mother Witch was definitely putting in the work here. Yeah, I got a couple piggies, which were able to counter the Mortar. Got a Baby Dragon up high. I mean, I was just holding on for dear life, guys. I don't even know how I was still surviving at this point. Because trust me, this matchup is really hard. probably a lot harder than it even looks right here. But I got a really good tornado, though. I feel like his pushes weren't really that well calculated. He was kind of just spamming everything at once instead of trying to, you know, avoid giving me spell value and stuff like that. The only issue is that I had to get some more damage myself, you know, because I was, you know, down just a few damage at this point. I had to get some lightnings on the tower, which I knew would be very hard to do since I had to just focus on defending constantly. But I got a really good Evo cage, which sucked in his Skelly King, prevented his ability from going off, and yeah, I really just had to do with these Spirit Empresses, so I pulled it in, went for a Mother Witch as well in the opposite lane, and here I was actually thinking that maybe I had won the game. Because I went for the Lightning, and then he needed, like, you know, 160 damage to win here, and I knew arrows would not do that much. But he did get the Skelly King down, guys, which gave him the 3-card cycle, so I knew he could get another set of arrows down before the game would end. And if he did that, then I would lose, and I had to defend the Skelly Barrel and Lightning at the same time, which I couldn't do both. At least I thought I couldn't, but I was just barely able to, so I was just lying, actually. And I ended up winning against a pretty difficult matchup. For game number 2 against Hugo, I decided to go for this Logbait deck, and honestly, this deck was really just my coach's call. I didn't really decide on it myself, but I just trusted my coach in this game number 2. It's just the typical bait spam deck. I actually had no Dagger Duchess, though. I decided to play the Princess Tower here. I feel like even though Duchess can be good in this type of bait deck, Princess Tower is overall a little bit safer. Now, when I saw Hugo's cards here, I was already pretty certain it would be a Graveyard deck, so I wasn't really sure how to feel about this. Sometimes Graveyard can be nice in this sense, because you can kind of just run all over them in single elixir, but also it can get really bad later in the game, because you can't really kill their witch and stuff like that. I got a really good push going here, man. I knew his cycle was so bad, and I went for the gang as well, because I knew his cycle was, once again, just trash. And I got so much damage right off the start, man. Look at that pressure, guys. Look at that sequence that just happened there that just got me so much damage. The thing is, the Graveyard player has to be so safe in single elixir, but if they can survive single elixir, then I feel like they can have a decent chance to win the game. But also the Mega Minion was kind of bad for him here. And then look at this here. I went for a Bridge Princess, and then I just pushed it forward with Wall Breakers to make it get on the tower even a bit quicker, I think. Actually, I'm not even sure if I pushed it or not, but either way, I got on the tower, got a nice couple of shots there. And I was feeling really good at this point. But yeah, guys, look, if the Graveyard player just goes for, like, Vines against your barrels sometimes, or against your Princess or Dart Goblin, and then they just, you know, bar barrel the other stuff whenever they have to, I feel like they can actually have a pretty good chance in this matchup, because once you hit double elixir, they just, like, spam the witch in the back, and you can't kill it. But the thing that was really bad for him was the Mega Minion, because he was just scared of my Lava Hound decks, I believe. But if they had, like, Berserker over Mega Minion, they can do so much better, I feel like. But yeah, the Mega Minion just really is not that useful. So he went for the Evo Witch in the back, and I'll be honest with you guys, I just defended for like the rest of the game and just won. And I was able to qualify to the monthly finals. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!